I want a robot.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that a 5-on? Who's the best player? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if that was on screen though. I'm also playing 10-10. I'm gonna see if I can like rewarm up my shot here first and then like fucking. Oh. Oh.
My fault, then I take it back.
Are you still watching right?
Yeah, I'm watching.
What's going on, guys? It's Lojtar here, and those few little clips you just saw in the beginning were the last few highlights I was able to get before Treyarch hit us with the nerf. And if you're out of the loop from the last few days, when the Strelok laser got decimated and became unusable by Treyarch, we eventually found out that this other laser will let you get a hipfire to ADS accuracy, a little bit like the Strelok laser did before the patch. It wasn't as good, but it was a lot better than the current Strelok laser we have right now. Unfortunately, Treyarch found out, and on February 27th, they patched the laser on the sniper. There's no need to really worry too much since sniping is still some of the best sniping we've had in a long time. And for the rest of this video, I'll be going through the best loadouts for every sniper and the settings I use as well. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the loadouts. All right, starting off with the VS Recon, the class is still going to be pretty similar. The only thing I would recommend is you can change the magazine to the A-round magazine, or you can keep it at the 10. This is if you're down with some less ADS speed or more ADS speed, but with less shots in your magazine. I switch between these two sometimes, just depending on how I'm feeling. And now for the big part, the laser. I would either recommend you can switch back to the lockstep laser and you can go for really close pop shots because this thing still tightens up at 95% ADS. So for very close up pop shotting, this could help you out. Or you could switch to the handling laser, the 1 milliwatt instinct laser. And this gives you better ADS speed and sprint to fire speed. So depending on your playstyle, you could choose between the Strelok laser or the handling laser. I'm probably going to switch between both just depending on how I feel. And listen guys, this still isn't a slow sniper. If you guys remember back in Cold War, I believe we had about like 530 millisecond ADS speed. With this VS Recon build, and this is with my extended mag, we have an ADS speed of 502 milliseconds. Which, I mean, that's still better than, I think, the fastest Tundra class in Cold War. And another thing people did in Cold War was feather scope. So feather scoping basically looks like this, where you're just kind of spamming your ADS button. And a lot of people did this in Cold War. And I feel like if you're not going to be using the pop shot laser and you do want to kind of get some pop shots in or kind of reduce your ADS speed, then the feather scoping is something you're going to have to do. It does help reduce your ADS speed just a little bit. It's just something you're going to have to get used to. It's just something you're going to have to get used to, but once you get the technique down, it's not too bad. And now we're going to move on to the Hawker, where things get a little complicated. You can run a few different attachments on this. So let's not forget, the Hawker is one of the fastest snipers we've gotten in a Call of Duty in a very long time, besides, I think, the longbow from Modern Warfare 3. So we have a little bit of room to play around with this sniper. Generally, this is what you want to go for. You want to keep this barrel, you want to keep this under barrel. If you're playing Search and Destroy, you could definitely switch to the 6-round speed mag. I think this would benefit you a lot. You're playing S&D, you're not going to be really going for too many clips, you're gonna have time to reload. I think if you're playing Respawn, the 10-round extended mag is your way to go. Don't use the Amrita fast mag. I think this is still glitched and gives you a mag size of 7, even though it's supposed to be 8. And for the stock, I'm using the Hawker steadfast stock. It gives you a good amount of flinch resistance. This sniper does have a lot of recoil. A few people are using the tactical spread stock, which lowers your hip fire accuracy by a significant amount. So if we go into the firing range here and we look at the crosshairs, these are a lot smaller than what you're probably used to seeing with my other class setup. But the other problem is you will get a lot of recoil. As you can see, there's a lot of kickback to the sniper. And if you're not a fan of that flinch, you can go ahead and switch back to this control stock, and we go back into the firing range and you'll see a good difference here. You know, the kickback isn't as strong. It is still there for sure, but it's more controllable. And just like I said with the VS Recon, you can either use the handling laser or the Strelok laser, just depending on your playstyle. If you're someone who likes to be up close and pop shot a lot, this Strelok laser actually will benefit you. And actually, another thing I'm going to bring up with the muzzle, I am probably going to switch to the muzzle brake instead of the EMC3 ported 70. Since I'm already trying not to get used to pop shotting anymore since we have these nerfs, I don't think the hipfire spread matters too much to me. But if you're someone who's still going to run the Strelok laser, you should probably run the ported 70. So if we go into the firing range with this thing, you guys are probably going to see a good difference here. And you can already see I'm not really kicking up as much anymore. This is a lot more controllable, and I think this is honestly what I would prefer to use. I don't really care about pop shotting up close, because at a certain point, once you're close enough, you're gonna be able to hit your shot on this person anyway. So this is honestly the class I'm probably going to stick to. But I think this is the final class for me unless they change something else again. And I'll just very quickly go through the other two snipers. I don't think many of you are here for the other two snipers, but there might be a few of you who like sniping with all 4 snipers like I do. So for the XR3 Ion, I'm not really changing too much in this class besides changing the Strelok to the handling laser. I wasn't really pop shotting much with this gun anyway, so I think this is actually a better laser for it in the long run. Everything else is pretty much the same. I do use a different optic for this because I don't like the default optic, but if you don't care about that, you could definitely run the muzzle brake. And last but not least, the Shadow SK. So you are going to see I'm using the Prestige laser that comes with the Shadow SK. You could obviously use the handling laser or the Strelok laser, just like every other sniper we've talked about so far. But I actually think this laser that you get when you Prestige the Shadow actually works really well in the case of this nerf. So if I do go into the firing range with this, you do come out of the sprint pretty quickly with this. I'm not hitting my shots because this thing aims in pretty weird, and every time I use it, I have to get used to it. But you can see, let me actually come up out of a sprint because I'm not doing it out of a sprint. But as you can see, I come up out of that sprint pretty quickly. So I think the laser is pretty useful. Obviously, you don't have to use it. You can use the handling laser or the Strelok laser. And just remember, with every other sniper here as well, we are probably going to be doing this feather scoping thing, where we're just kind of spamming the ADS button. Gonna have to get used to this again. I haven't done this since Cold War, but I can definitely see myself doing this from time to time during certain gunfights. I can see it being useful for sure. And I am using the muzzle brake on this. If you want, you can use the mobility spread muzzle just to make your hip fire accuracy a little tighter. This could probably help with the pop shotting if you're using the Strelok laser. But once again, it all comes down to your playstyle. If you sit back with this thing, you don't really have to use this muzzle. I would recommend using the muzzle brake. But if you want to go up close and personal, I would run Strelok laser and this mobility spread muzzle instead. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I'll go through my settings for you guys really quick. Now, just a quick disclaimer, my settings may not be comfortable for you, so you can try and use my settings and see what works for you, but adjust them to your liking, because my sensitivity or my presets or my keybinds might not match what's comfortable for you. And if you copy exactly what I have and you don't think it works for you, then it's probably not an ideal setting for you, and you need to find your own setting. But I'm still going to share these settings with you just as a basis. Maybe you see a setting that I changed that you think, oh, maybe if I change it to this, it could help. I play both controller and keyboard and mouse. I've been playing a lot more keyboard and mouse and controller lately, so I'll go over the controller settings really quick. So pretty much everything is almost default. I don't really change too much on controller settings. Every time I play COD, I have default button layout, default stick layout, no controller vibration. And you guys might notice I have a pretty low sensitivity. I think this transfers to around like 8 sensitivity if we were using the old numbers. And for my dead zone inputs, I have my left stick maxed out at 60 and minimized at 3, just so the omni movement is a little tighter and I just feel a little more comfortable with it. So try messing with this, but if you don't like this tightness, I would just put it back to 99 or whatever the default is, and then your minimum should always be the lowest it can go without stick drift taking over. And then same rules apply for the right stick, except I don't minimize it. I actually like to have more fluid control of my movement here. And then for the aiming, I actually do mess around with the sensitivity multiplier a little bit. You don't have to do this, but for me it helps. I put my ADS sense to 0.55, and this just helps me keep more control. And this is more for red gunning. So I think if I'm sniping, I put this up to 0.75 or even just 1. And then everything else here is pretty much the same. If we go into aiming advanced settings, I have this on gradual assist dynamic. I think these are the settings most people use, and these are the settings that are comfortable to me. And the only thing I have changed on movement is I keep sprint assist on, and for wall jump assist I have it on sideways only. The only downside to this is you will be ping ponging a bit every once in a while, but this makes movement very fluid. And the only thing I have changed in the combat section is dedicated melee weapon activation. I just have it on press melee. Moving on to the keyboard and mouse settings, I have my mouse sensitivity on 1.38. I do play on 1600 DPI. Everything else here should be default. I don't really have anything changed on the keybinds. As far as I know, I don't have anything changed on the keybinds. I guess my lethal is on the mouse button, and then my tactical is on Q. But everything here is pretty much default. Like I said, guys, don't just copy keybinds, just use what's optimal for you. This is what's comfortable for me, so I only have a few things changed. And then for movement, I actually have the same settings as controller. So I have sprint assist on, I have wall jump on sideways only, and I have combat on press melee for the melee weapon activation. And if I go to the mouse advanced settings here on the custom sense per zoom, I have it set up like this. This is just what's comfortable for me. It just makes sense to my hands when I use it like this. So if I'm red gunning, I have a much lower ADS speed. If I have like a small, small to medium sized scope on, this is what makes sense to me. And for the high zoom, which is my sniping, I put on 0.80, which is what I had it at for just the default. And for the transition timing, I also have it on gradual, same as controller. And everything else here, I did not change. I don't know what this all means. I don't know what monitor distance coefficient means. I just kept it at the default. I don't want to mess with that. And that's pretty much all there is to be said, guys. Sniping is still really good even after the nerf. We're just gonna have to adjust like we always do. But I'm sure you guys will get out there and hit your shots anyway. So I hope this video has helped some of you guys out. And if it has, please drop a like and a sub. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.